The CIA launches an investigation into a mysterious illness that's affecting the State Department leaders around the world. I'll talk live with a former CIA agent, and this person has had firsthand experience with this Havana Syndrome. We'll be right back. The Inspector General at the CIA is reviewing the agency's handling of officers who have gotten sick from this mysterious Havana Syndrome. There have been reports from the U.S. State Department workers around the world falling ill with a series of painful sensory and physical symptoms. The first reports reports back to the U.S. Embassy in Havana back in 2016, but more recently, U.S. personnel in Vienna have fallen ill. CNN's Katie Bowe-Williams has more on this reporting. So, Katie, what more can you tell us about this review now?
Yeah, so what the Inspector General of the agency is looking at is how officers who have reported over the years to the CIA these sort of weird constellation of symptoms that we now understand to be Havana Syndrome, how they were handled when they came forward to the agency, and in particular, what kind of health care they received. Now, it's important to understand that this is not a full-blown Inspector General investigation yet. This is a review to determine whether or not such an investigation is needed. But we do know that the Inspector General is speaking to victims as part of this review. And this is important because one of the things we have heard from some victims and some former officers is that over the years, as officials came in to report, hey, this weird thing has happened to me, I'm experiencing these symptoms, some of those victims have reported that they were essentially gaslit by CIA leadership, who, according to some tellings, were skeptical, essentially, that this was a real thing. And as a result, these victims say they didn't get the health care that they should have in a timely fashion.
All right, Katie Bowe-Williams, thank you so much for that. All right, let's speak to someone with firsthand experience with this so-called Havana Syndrome. Mark Polymeropoulos is a former CIA agent who retired after 26 years due to debilitating health effects similar to the Havana Syndrome. Welcome, Mark. So good to see you. So can you tell me when you first experienced these symptoms and how and where were you?
Sure. Well, first of all, it's great to be here today. I really appreciate being able to talk about this. So I was, affected during a trip to Moscow in December of 2017. I was in a five-star hotel only several blocks from the U.S. Embassy, and I woke up in the middle of the night with an incredible case of vertigo, tinnitus ringing in my ears, terrible nausea, and it has led to an incredible health journey where I still have a headache today, three plus years later.
Oh, my goodness. So then when you would hear of some of your colleagues, whether it be in Havana, in Cuba, in Vienna, and then more recently in the past couple of years, we've heard that people close to the White House have experienced very similar symptoms. What were your initial thoughts about that, whether there's some real commonality here? Is it all because of the same influence potentially?
Well, first of all, and I've talked to a large majority of the victims, and there is an incredible sense of kind of camaraderie amongst us because there is commonality in symptoms. And really two things happen. One is something mysterious, something terrible happened and their careers are affected. But number two, we all started this, just like myself, there was this incredible battle to get health care from the U.S. government, which, up until now has really been a challenge. Now, new CIA Director Bill Burns has taken a new tact. But boy, we went through some really tough times, which caused not only the physical pain, but a lot of emotional and mental anguish as well.
So meaning you reported it and you couldn't get an adequate response to address it, mentally, physically. Was it running into a brick wall? Nobody would believe you?
Absolutely. So, the CIA's medical staff, the senior medical staff at the time really did not believe me. And it only took when I went public on this in October of 2020 to finally put enough pressure on the agency to send me to Walter Reed. But there was a real moral injury here because when, senior officials in the U.S. government, do not believe that you were injured, it's a pretty terrible thing to happen. And so I really, I felt for my colleagues, who I saw going down as well. And again, now, one thing I do is really advocate for healthcare. That is the key thing now, is to make sure, our U.S. officials overseas get treated when this happens.
So now what are you hoping the CIA Inspector General review will do?
Sure. So look, the accountability piece, I think is a necessary evil. This might be a bit unpleasant, but at the end of the day, it was a historic failure of leadership over the last several years. Now, let me say very clearly that Director Bill Burns and his team have taken a different tack, but in the past, we were really treated poorly. And I would say the CIA workforce is watching. So this is a good thing that the Inspector General is taking a look at this. The accountability piece is important, along with, of course, making sure that officers who are afflicted get health care, and that's happening now. That is a good piece of the story.
And now with the Senate passing a bill last month that would provide support, including financial support, for those who have suffered from these illnesses, how potentially life-changing is this going to be for those who suffered, and protection for those potentially if they're exposed to the same thing?
So I give a tremendous amount of credit to members on the Hill, both in Congress and in the Senate, who have really pushed this. They have been our real allies on this. And it's a bipartisan group, so it's incredible. It's for everyone from Senator Collins, Senator Rubio, Senator Warner, and so there's bipartisan support. So what will this do? It will give financial relief, particularly to junior officers whose careers, in their first or second tours were derailed and in some cases destroyed. It's a really big deal. For myself, I was in the Senior Intelligence Service. This is not designed for me, but much more so for the junior officers who really, suffered life-changing experiences. So I think this is a fantastic development, and I look forward to this passing.
And how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling better. My treatment at Walter Reed's National Intrepid Center of Excellence, their traumatic brain injury program was extraordinary. It gave me two things. It gave me tools and it gave me hope. So I'm probably feeling 25 to 30% better. I credit the men and women at Walter Reed for really changing my life. And that's why I always advocate for victims now to get to a facility like Walter Reed, because that's the place they have to go.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping for better days ahead for you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your service as well, Mark Polymeropoulos. I too, I'm a State Department brat, meaning my dad was State Department, so I get it. It is lifelong service. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.